I am going to press record for this session. We also have people still entering the room, so we will collect everybody as we come along. So today's session is designed to be an open question and answer for the Full Service Community Schools grant. We want to try to answer as many questions as you may have, and we may not have the direct answer the second you ask the question. Fortunately for us, we are part of a national network as part of the National Coalition for Community Schools, and we have at our disposal and within our networks many experts who we can refer questions to if we cannot give you a direct answer at this very moment. We will be collecting those questions and making notes on them. And after this session, we're actually going to publish a web page with all the resources we've collected so far, along with that FAQ and some other opportunities for you to check out some things to help you along the way. We are also offering some other technical assistance sessions. Heather, if you want to drop the link to the Sign Up Genius, we are offering one-on-one technical assistance sessions specifically on your evaluation section, because that is a big part of what we know makes Full Service Community Schools grants successful. We are also offering sort of more general technical assistance. We will probably add sessions as it gets closer to the deadline for grant review and feedback as well. So we want here at MOST and the Maryland Coalition for Community Schools, we want to be as helpful to you as we possibly can be in applying. The one other link I'm going to have Heather drop into the chat is that we currently have an open survey to folks about applying, whether they are applying, whether they're not applying, whether they're interested in applying as a consortia. Because we do believe that most of the grants that will be submitted to the feds will be under absolute priority 3, which is the capacity building. We think there may be some competitive advantage if the districts do decide they want to work together. So with that, I do want to get a sense of who's in the room with us. Sorry, that was a lot of talky from me. And we are still collecting folks, but what I would love is if everybody could drop your organization and your county, or your organization / school or school district, the county that you're with, and let's have just a little bit of fun today. What's the thing that you're most excited about for going back to school? I know everybody's really excited. I can tell. What's the thing that you're actually most looking forward to as students return to your campuses? I know Frederick started today, I believe. They were the first folks back. So if you want to drop in the chat, that will help us give a sense of who's in the room. So Shannon, nice to see you. Looking forward to seeing the girls that you haven't seen this summer, right? So when you run summer programs, you don't always have the same young women in your programs during the summer as you do during the school year. Who else do we have in the room? Dorchester County Public Schools, looking forward to new staff, new hope, and new opportunities. It's going to be kind of a nice year, right? I think, like, in some ways, I know there are challenges, there's staff shortages, there's all these things, but this may be the most normal, quote unquote, year that we've had in a long time. We've got Kent County, Montgomery County Schools, Kent County Schools. We have a couple of evaluators in the room. Don't mind me if I call on you at some point to help us out on some of these questions, maybe. We have SNAP Ed, Seeds for Success in Anne Arundel County, and more folks from Anne Arundel County. We love our the diversity. Dorchester County, great. And all right, we'll keep those introductions coming in the chat. This is going to be very informal, folks. So what I would like folks to do is you may drop your questions in the chat, or you may come off mute to state your question. I would love, however, if you drop your question in, if you do come off mute to say your question, it would be great if you could also write it in the chat, because capturing the chat will help us keep a record of each of the questions that gets posed, and also who asked them, so we have great follow-up. So who wants to jump in with a question first? Oh, come on. It's a Q&A session. I know you got them. They're burning questions. You have burning questions about full service community schools. And these don't have to be technical questions. Maybe they're more overarching, I'm thinking about doing this, how does that sound questions, or you know, more sort of connecting to some just thought processes you might have about approaching this grant. Absolutely. Thank you, Tom. You've jumped us off. So absolute priority 3 means that you are applying as your school district, or potentially as a nonprofit organization that serves as a lead agency in partnership with a school or multiple schools. And you are applying in order to augment or add schools in your community school portfolio. So, or maybe you haven't run community schools before, but you would like to do that, and you have other kinds of school partnership experiences. So that means you have at least 2 schools in that cohort, and that's absolute priority 3. Absolute priority 4 requires you to have at least 1 other school district involved in your application. So you have a bit of a consortia, and you are represent, so at least 2 counties would be part of that application in order to submit. And again, you can do similar things with absolute priority 4 as you do with absolute priority 3. And you can, but in that case, you have to have that collaboration across counties. Does that answer that question?
If I could follow up with an additional question.
Please.
So under priority 4, there would still be just 1 application submitted on behalf of 2 LEAs. That's
correct. There would have to be a lead applicant chosen to submit the application.
Okay. And in terms of receiving the grant funding, would that be split in half, split between the LEAs that are applying?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be proportional as a half. You would have to budget up to the maximum request for the absolute priority 4. So you couldn't go beyond that. And that is one of the challenges of the consortia model, is that as I calculated, you probably wouldn't want more than 3 counties in a consortia, just in terms of what the actual max award is of absolute priority 4. Thank you. So Marcia Kroger says, can a school receive community school funds from BCPS, MSDE, and straight from the federal government? The answer is yes. You absolutely can receive funding from all 3 of those sources. Your BCPS dollars are most likely MSDE dollars anyway. They are coming from the concentration of poverty grants. But you could also receive Family League funding and BCPS and MSDE dollars. You just have to reflect that braiding. And remember that there is a supplement, not supplant rule with this federal funding. Lenore Reynolds Jones, you're a small nonprofit from Howard County that specializes in teaching, cooking, food, and nutrition. We're excited about new partnership and opportunities expanding into communities. I think that's an important just note, is that partnerships are a key part of implementing community schools. Engaging partners and including partners into the planning and execution of this grant will definitely strengthen you as an applicant. Heather has dropped our drive that has all the resources we've collected so far in the link in the chat there. And Jeff says, good morning. Are you aware of any lead agencies that might want to consider applying together? We would consider, but seems to be large haul for our capacity. Yes. So the survey that Heather has dropped in the chat, and she's going to drop in again, I'll ask her to do that. We are trying to find out who is looking for partners. And if you take the survey, you will get the results of the survey. If you take the survey and you click that you're willing to share your information, you'll get the results of the survey. More questions? One of my, I don't know, Heather, if you have the link to the infographic, I share it over and over again. It's my favorite. There's about a 5-page infographic that USAID put together about the grant. I feel like it answers many of the questions. Hold on, I will get you that answer in just a question, just a second. I have way too much paper in front of me, although it is also on that fun little infographic. Let's see. Heather, do you know which one I'm talking about? She says, yeah, she'll get it for me. Yep, that's my favorite.
Sorry, there it is.
Overview, and if you take a look down, the max for absolute priority 4 is $3 million per year, or $15 million for the full grant. Other questions? I will say that we do not believe that there will be an absolute priority 5 application from Maryland. So that appears to be off the table at the moment. A couple of other things that I've said in other forums while we're waiting for more questions, and I'm looking over that infographic, might jog some for folks. We really want to see many applications come from Maryland for this funding. The demand that the feds get for this grant will help the advocacy and the case for increasing funds for the full service community school grants in the future. The Biden administration actually suggested quite a bit more funding for this grant. We think it is possible it could even double next year in the amount. It is also a grant that it's not uncommon that you apply in 1 year, get feedback, but you're not successful in the first year, but you might get it in the second year that you apply. That happens a lot with large federal grants. So getting yourself kind of known and in the queue is something that we recommend. You know, a couple other things that Tanya has said a lot about this grant for Maryland specifically is that we are uniquely poised for this grant because we have a built-in sustainability model through the blueprint. So schools that you are funding, maybe they don't have their per pupil yet, but they will. And so the services that you're augmenting could be back funded with that per pupil in the future. Or maybe they are not a community school yet, but they are scheduled to become one within the phase-in of the community schools process. And you can bring those schools on earlier. And lastly, and this is important for counties that are never going to have 40 schools or are not yet reaching 40 schools and don't have that administrative backbone, you can add that central office support into this grant. So something that many of you are missing right now, this grant could be an answer to that question. So just wanted to throw all of those are my pitches to you. Apply, even if you apply, go for it, go for this round, and definitely think how this integrates into your overall thinking. Just super important, this is the worst timed grant ever in the history of man. So I'm not sure why they thought, mid-September, September 12th was a great deadline for school districts when they're coming back to school. But that is the closing date. There was a intent to apply, but that was not required by the Fed. So if you miss that, do not worry about that. You can still submit your application. Tom, yes, applicants will receive considerable feedback on their grant applications if they are denied. We have heard that it is actually helpful feedback, which is not always the case in grant application processes. We do have some friends and colleagues who have served as reviewers. And one of the pieces of advice that they gave us is that one of the things that separates programs really is because the models of community schools are very similar and the activities in community schools are very similar. One of the distinguishing features of a high scoring grant is the evaluation section of the project. More questions? And like I said, we'll be gathering these up. Will most offer support for teams during the preparation phase and will most help teams from a project to increase score? So we will, we're offering a couple of things as Heather's pot. We have one-to-one TA sessions coming up the week of August 29th. And then we also have, we're going to probably add dates. We're going to get through those TA sessions first, but we're probably going to add dates closer to the deadline. That week of the sort of like the week going into the deadline to do actual grant review and feedback for projects. So yes, we will do everything we can. We're also here if one of those sessions is not working for you time wise, just reach out to Heather or I, and we'll be happy to find some one-on-one time with you. It's helpful to know as you fill out those office hours applications that exactly what you're looking for in terms of support, so we can match you with the right expert, whether it's one of us or is there, hi, Tom asks, is there an official note that competitive? No, there is not an official note that there will be competitive priority. That is somewhat of an assumption on my part, just in terms of the likelihood of the numbers of applicants in each category. Also, I think that they may anticipate just that Maryland, we're very far along compared to some states in terms of our work around community schools. So I would think they would expect some kinds of consortium applications from us as well. But yeah, there's no official word that that's an extra competitive priority. I will, however, because I'm looking at Tanya and she's always very good at this, highlight that the 2 additional competitive priorities are also right in our wheelhouse here in Maryland. And the second one is really about systems building and coordination and kind of lends itself then to that absolute priority 4. So I would encourage folks to look at those additional priority areas. This is going to be an incredibly competitive grant. So you're going to have to go for all the points you possibly can to I think to be in the group in this group for this $70+ million. Yeah,
Ellie, can I piggyback off of that for a second?
please.
So what I think is also not necessarily like the most unique thing about Maryland, but what definitely does give us a competitive edge for some of these priorities are our presence of not just community schools, but we have local management boards at the table. We have ECACs, early childhood advisory councils. We have a lot of sort of built-in structures that could be pulled into an application as part of a cross-sector consortium, right? Regardless of how you're going about this, sort of looking at community schools holistically and saying, like, we're going to include these bodies that already exist, that are already doing really great work on behalf of students, and kind of bring them all to the table. I'm not sure that everyone else is really quite so well poised to make those connections, or if these bodies even exist in other places. So please use them. Like, talk to your ECACs, talk to your local management boards, talk to your health departments, and really get everyone at the table, because I think that's really what is going to set some of these applications apart.
Yes, and that will demonstrate to the point of absolute priority 2, that systems building piece, that coordination piece, that that you have kind of a handle on the communities of practice that are working in this space, and that you're bringing those together to bear on your community school strategies. I saw earlier, and I want to make sure she's still here. Oh, I know she had to jump off. I thought I saw Kavita, but I don't see her anymore. So I think she's gone. Paul, I'm gonna put you on the spot for a second. Since you're my yep, she had to jump off at 12:50. You're my other evaluation person, but also have a ton of experience with the federal grant process. Any words of wisdom to our crowd in terms of their approaches to just these large federal grant processes? If not this one specifically.
I don't know about words of wisdom from me, but I'd say, really just being able to, just this forum and sharing the ideas is just incredible, and being open to working together is really terrific. I will say on the evaluation section, though, please, I just want to amplify an earlier point, just in terms of really specifying both the program and impact data that you're going to be collecting, evaluating, and analyzing. So I think that really, I think, is going to set applications apart in this case. So, yep, that would be the 2 small points.
And if folks are looking for evaluators, we do have some names and resources. We've created this a little bit of a local research practice network for Maryland, and we have folks that have community schools experience in that group. Just reach out to us and we can provide you some references on that point. I apologize, my beagle is making some noise in the background. If you hear any howls or barks, I will hopefully be able to take care of that in a minute. Go ahead, Paul.
I
Take
just
over
want to
while
say,
I let the beagle out.
oh, sure. Just one other thing. I just put in the chat. There's some great family and community engagement resources from Mid-Atlantic Equity Consortium. I put that in the chat box. I also work real closely with the staff there. So if you need it, they were involved with designing the whole family engagement framework for MSDE over the past years. So, please reach out if you ever want to connect with them. As there's plenty of great supporting systemic resources, as Ellie had mentioned prior to that. Also, another good national organization, of course, is IEL, Institute for Educational Leadership. There's a lot of great kind of like national level community resources, as they're a leader in this area. So those would be two recommendations, one at the more state level and one at the national level there.
Yes, we value the partnership we've had with Mid-Atlantic Equity Consortium on some training in the past. And they are a great resource on that front. More questions? Anything that, as you look at that infographic or as you page through, I'm an old school person. I like to see things in paper. So I have my marked up application sitting right next to me. Anything else we can answer for you all as you struggle with the decision to go forward or to the one other point I should make, which we talked about when we did our overview, is that only Dorchester County is eligible for absolute priority 2 in Maryland. So Dorchester County alone. And unfortunately, that makes it difficult for them to be part of a consortia if they want to apply under absolute priority 2, because all members of the consortia would have to be eligible to under that priority. So as of right now, Dorchester County is the only county in Maryland that meets the requirements of the rural communities for that. Any other questions?
May be recorded for quality and verification.
Yes, for now, the standards are very stringent. We can, if you're interested in seeing the tables or the links to where there's 2 rural schools programs that you have to qualify under one of them, and only Dorchester County meets the criteria. I think it's a little bit about our density of population in Maryland that is why it's difficult for us to qualify, because even though we do have rural areas, we're still a relatively compact state, and we just have more people per square miles than, say, Kansas or Montana. Well, I will give it another minute. Heather, could you I will drop my email in the chat if you would like to do the same for yourself. Again, we ask folks fill out our survey. We encourage folks to sign up for one-to-one technical assistance. We will be putting up that web page shortly with a kind of just organizing all the resources we've gotten so far. And we will likely add additional TA sessions after we get past that first round, which will be more focused on reviewing and giving feedback to folks on their applications as they're more formed. Yeah, I know, like I said, it is possibly the worst timed grant application I've seen. Although, people, it seems to be a strategy. I don't know, maybe to get fewer applications. Let's make it the absolute worst time for people to apply. But if you do take our survey, we will send you the results so that you can connect up with others who are interested in that work. I saw that there were several people in the chat who St. Mary's County, Montgomery County are interested in that priority 4 collaboration and put that interest rate directly there. So I saw that was Amy and Terry Cox. So if you are interested in connecting with them, yes, Tom, I can confirm that the intent to apply is not required. So that is not an issue if you did not complete that. So. All right, well, everybody's going to get a little bit more time back in their day. I know I could use that. I am back to back on Zoom all the way through 5 o'clock today. So I am happy to have a breather, but Heather and I are here for you. That's our goal, is to get as many Maryland applications across the finish line, as many quality Maryland applications across the finish line as we can. We hope that this is helpful. We really are looking forward to the one-on-one TA sessions. And again, if none of those slots work, just reach out to Heather and we will find a time that works for you. All right, should I play us out? Get my get some groove going on the way out of the door. Let's see. All right, bye everybody. Something you got makes me work all day. Something